Thank you very much, Brad. This morning, the pledge will be led by Joey Lorvik and Calden Yuling from Centennial Elementary, Denver, Colorado. Stand up right here.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. On the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Nice job. The House will come to order. Mr. Gregoric, please call the roll.
Representatives Arndt, Baisley,
Thank you.
Benavidez, Byrd, Bockenfeld, Buck. Representative Buckner is excused. Buenteo, Caraveo, Carver, Catlin,
Yeah. Hey, do you guys want
Champion, Coleman,
Sure, you guys. They're in my district. Brad's my school board member.
I know.
Technically, a little bit of his school board member too for like 4 blocks.
Representative Coleman. Representative Coleman is excused. Cutter. Representative Duran is excused. Escar.
Don't worry. And I just
Exum.
watched-
Froelich. Garnett. Geithner. Gonzalez Gutierrez. Gray. Herod. Excuse Herod. Representative Herod. Representative Herod is excused. Holtorf. Hooten. Humphrey. Representative Humphrey. Representative Humphrey is excused. Jackson. Hawkes Lewis. Kennedy. Oh, he's excused.
Excused.
Representative Kennedy is excused. Kipp. Kraftharp. Landgraf. Larson. Liston. Lontine. McCluskey. McKean. McLaughlin. Melton. Michelson Janae. Mullica.
Hi, how are you?
Representative Mullica.
I did.
Okay, can we do that today?
Yep,
Representative Mullica is excused. Neville.
absolutely.
Pelton. Ransom. Rich. Oh, she's gone. Representative Rich is excused. Roberts. Sane.
Excused.
Representative Sane is excused. Sandridge. Singer. Sirota. Snyder. Representative Soper is excused. Sullivan. Tipper. Titone. Valdez 8. Valdez D. Van Winkle. Weissman. Will. Williams. Wilson. Woodrow. Young. Got it. Madam Speaker.
Excused.
We got the absent. That's right.
With 57 present, 8 excused. A quorum is present. Now approval of the journal. Representative Roberts. Whoa. Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. I move that the Journal of Friday, March 13th, 2020 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
You have heard the motion that the Journal of Friday, March 13th be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Are there any announcements or introductions? Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I would like to notify everybody that on your desk there is a Coombres and Toltec invitation. So the train will start on May the 23rd. Please get your tickets now so that you can ride the Coombres and Toltec train this summer. We'd like to see you, and when you're down there, don't be afraid to take some of the best pictures in the world of the scenic of Southern Colorado. Thank you.
Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. My question for you, Representative Valdez, is if people go to ride the train, will you ride up next to him on a horse again?
Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Giddy up, Colorado. That's right.
Any other announcements and introductions? Representative Hooton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I just want to remind people with refrigerators in their offices that we will be out of the Capitol for a couple of weeks, and so don't miss that opportunity to clean out your refrigerator before we leave, or you may be unpleasantly surprised when you return. Thank you.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. I'd like to ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Members, moment of personal privilege is granted.
So, members, I'm actually going to start by reading a post that a friend of mine put out there, and I'll leave their name anonymous. But I think this is very important and timely in this moment. Now is the time to be our best. For those of you making jokes about COVID-19 or disregarding the xenophobia and minimizing the violence against Asians, I ask you take this matter seriously. Last evening, this person exited their vehicle, came to my car window, threatened me, and shouted racial profanities at me. I refused to engage and inflame her further. Instead, I called law enforcement, who responded, but no citation was issued. She wasn't arrested. This is happening to Asians in the U.S. and across the globe. Keep in mind, you're only hearing about the reported cases. This is real. This is happening to me. We need you, public officials, and the community to condemn the xenophobia and violence against our AAPI community. We need you to speak out and stand in solidarity with us. So, members, the only thing more contagious in a time of crisis than the illness itself or the collapse of the economy is the xenophobia and racism that follows. We've seen this time and time again. You think about what happened in the 1800s with yellow fever, it was European immigrants. You think about what happened with SARS, it was the Chinese. You think about Ebola, it was Africa. Even recently, a Thai health minister started blaming Caucasians. This is our legacy if we let it be. Or our legacy can be about how we came together, how we spoke out against this kind of virulent racism, xenophobia, and hatred, and said we are going to come together in our own way. I believe that our best days are ahead of us. This will almost definitely be the most challenging time, perhaps of the decade, hopefully not the century, that any of us will face. So what can we do? We can speak out. We can wear our legislative badge and go visit with our AAPI community. We can go to Asian restaurants, maybe not shake hands, but shake elbows. This is our opportunity to quarantine racism and xenophobia. So thank you all for standing and your attention. And as we pass our resolutions today or listen to our resolutions today, the anger that bubbles up is natural. The anxieties that bubble up are natural. The hatred that bubbles up needs to be quarantined and put away. And so thank you, members, for your attention. And I look forward to our procedures and proceedings today.
Any other announcements or introductions? The House will be in a brief recess. The House will come to order. Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. I move to proceed out of order for the immediate consideration of Resolution HJR 2010-06.
Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for the immediate consideration of House Joint Resolution 1006. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. I move for the passage of House Joint Resolution 1006 and ask for an aye vote. Do you want me to proceed?
That has been properly moved. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. Good morning, members. We are here at the Capitol on a gloomy Saturday on a very solemn and unprecedented occasion. Over the last week, COVID-19 has gone from a concern to an urgent, pervasive, and incredibly important issue for all of us in Colorado to address quickly. So the legislature is called on to do a few things all at once on this occasion. Preserve the safety of the people who work in the Capitol and visit here and participate in the public process, but also be available to respond and react as legislators to this public health crisis, to continue working on the matters that the people brought us here to do, and to pass critical legislation. So we, as the leadership of the House and the Senate today, seek to resolve this Hobson's choice of wanting to preserve public safety, but also wanting to be available as legislators by asking you all to support two motions today. One is a motion to request an interrogatory to the state Supreme Court to clarify whether the time that we take off as a legislature is time that we can make up after the typical May 16 EDA, and also to ask you to let us adjourn for 2 weeks. We'll come back into session when it's appropriate or necessary, and we may extend the suspension, the recess, beyond this initial 2-week period. We plan to come back to get important pieces of legislation done, like the state budget, like the School Finance Act, like many lingering sunsets, like the rule review bill and other things like that. There's also legislation that's mission critical for the state to continue operating. There's legislation that draws down important federal funds, which are even more important in a situation like this. So we're submitting this question today. Members, this resolution to the Supreme Court simply asks, and I'll read it to you from page 6, does Section 7 of Article 5 of the state constitution that limits the length of the regular legislative session to 120 calendar days require that those days be counted consecutively and continuously, beginning with the first day on which the regular session convenes, for purposes of operating during, or may the General Assembly for purposes of operating during a declared disaster emergency interpret the limitation as applying only to calendar days on which the Senate or the House of Representatives, or both, convene in regular legislative session. The work that we do here is so critically important to the people of our state, and we made this decision with the recognition that we're faced with an unprecedented situation and that we have the responsibility to both protect public health, but also to continue the proper functioning of government. We call on you to help continue the critical work of the people of the state by putting us into a brief adjournment, get clarification from the Senate, evaluate what all is changing in the state and what we'll be called upon to do in the next months. And so with that, I ask for an aye vote. Oh, actually, I have an amendment. Do you want to speak first, and then I'll?
Sure.
Mr. Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Members, this is certainly unprecedented, uncharted territories we're looking at here. I do applaud the Madam Speaker's work in leading us to get us to the point we're at today. What we're faced with in 1006 is the question, right? Is it consecutive or is it calendar days? we need that Supreme Court to give us a proper decision so in the future we can plan. We don't know if a 2-week recess is going to be enough. We don't know if it would be advisable to come back after that point. So we need the Supreme Court to weigh in. What 1006 really does is just ask the Supreme Court to weigh in on that decision. I think that that's important for us to get and keep in mind when that happens. Folks can, through briefs, can weigh in on either side. I can certainly see an argument for consecutive, can certainly see an argument for just saying it's calendar and we should be able to come back. The bottom line is we should know that decision for our planning purposes coming up in the future. And so I urge a yes vote on this and thank you for your work on it.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. I move L002 and ask that it be displayed.
L002 has been properly moved and displayed to the amendment, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. So at the request of the minority, they wanted us to scale down some sections of the interrogatory to just make it a little bit more simple, and thought maybe there were some provisions that were repetitive or unnecessary. And so we're removing on page 4, lines 16 through 21 that begins further an extraordinary legislative session would be inefficient. That section just makes the case that if the Supreme Court says you don't need an answer to this question, you can just have a special session called by the governor. In fact, that really limits the ability of the legislature to do its business. It hands over to the governor the ability to decide everything that we're going to consider or not. And so we want to preserve legislative authority. The second section it takes out is the paragraph beginning, whereas the General Assembly is thus faced with a difficult choice to either protect public health and potentially fail to meet the public's need for legislation or meet the public's interest and needs by continuing work on legislation. I think that does set up the issue, but the minority leader would like us to leave that out for now. The choice is clear. There are other sections where we state it, and so we're just paring it down a little. And with that, I ask for an aye vote on L002.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L002? Is there objection to a voice vote? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing L002 say aye.
Aye.
Those no. The ayes have it. L002 is adopted. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on House Joint Resolution 1006? Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. And I do want to thank the bill sponsors for their hard work on this. I know we're moving pretty fast to respond to this pandemic and this crisis that we're facing. And I want to thank the Speaker for offering those amendments, because those particular sections that we struck out just now were a little bit problematic for me. There are a few more things in here, I think specifically on page 5, lines 1 through 10, where I'm still kind of weighing whether or not that's appropriate. My only concern here is that we are asking for an opinion from the Supreme Court, and that's fine and great, and I want to do the same thing, and I believe it's necessary, but I also don't want to necessarily put sort of a leading narrative in here that would try to help the Supreme Court come to a conclusion or an outcome that perhaps the majority would want in this body. With that said, I still think this is appropriate. My understanding, there might be some more amendments in the Senate, which I look forward to, but for now, I'll definitely be in support of this resolution, especially with the amendments that pass, and I would ask for my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Williams, for working with on this. I'll say that I'm a fierce defender of legislative authority and the legislature's independence as its own branch of government. And I think it's important that the legislature say, we are elected to represent people for 120 days, and that we do not want to cede our authority in extreme circumstances like this, in unpredictable circumstances like this, to just say, well, the governor can decide. The governor gets to make those decisions on whether we come back and if we come back and what we get to do. So it is my intention as a speaker of this body to strongly stand for the legislature's ability to fully execute what we came here to do. Each one of us is duly elected. Some of us are term limited. Some of us may not win re-elections, and we want the ability to do the work, whatever that work is, whatever position you're advocating for, to have the full opportunity to do that. That's what the people expect. We need a break for the moment to do that because of extraordinary circumstances. But I don't think the people of Colorado, I don't think this body, I don't think the people who set up this system of 3 branches of government want us to cede our authority because of these extraordinary times. They want us to be able to still do the work of the people, whoever it is that you're most representing. It might be the farmer or the teacher or the local government person, the Parks and Wildlife guy, the Black and brown people of Colorado, whoever it is, they want us to be able to do that work. And I do hope that the Supreme Court says we want to preserve legislative authority even in times of crisis. Thank you all for your time.
Is there any further discussion on Resolution 1006? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1006. Is there any objection to a voice vote? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Joint Resolution 1006 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine for co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of House Joint Resolution 1007.
House Joint Resolution 2010-007 by Representatives Becker and Neville, also Senators Garcia and Holbert, concerning a temporary adjournment of the second regular session of the 72nd General Assembly to a day certain.
Mr. Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move House Joint Resolution 1007.
That has been properly moved. Mr. Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem and members. Like I said before, certainly unprecedented and uncharted times that we're looking at here, and I do think that this is a very clean measure that says upon adjournment today, we are in recess until the 30th. I did want to thank the Madam Speaker for working on this. I think this is an appropriate step for us to take considering the crisis that we have in our state. There's debate on whether it should be longer, should it be shorter. I think there's definitely arguments for either one, but I think this is a measured step until we can actually get the previous resolution, the answer to that, on whether or not it's consecutive or not consecutive. So I think this is appropriate at this time for us to take that pause to allow the community and public to deal with the crisis that we're looking at. In the meantime, there are interim committees that still could be working, things like the Joint Budget Committee, the Executive Committee. I think we'll still be having meetings to deal with stuff as time moves on, but I do think this is an appropriate step and want to thank all the bipartisan cooperation we've had on this.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader, and thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. We had to make some very quick decisions. There's been some questions about why 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks provides enough time for some social distancing without pushing us too far out in the future to know what may come up that we need to address or where we are in the trajectory of this pandemic. I think that it may be that we need to extend or it may not. I know that all of you all will be working in your own communities at home over email, just like you would during any interim, and fully expect that to continue. But, and until we come back, your bills are in suspended animation. I know everyone's wondering about that, but I think that at this time, this is the right step to do for the people who work here, who visit here, who want to participate in everything that we do. So we appreciate your willingness to take this unprecedented step, to take a pause, and hopefully keep everyone who comes here, but also everyone who leaves here and goes back to their own communities, help them keep a little safer and help slow down and hopefully end this horrible situation that we're in with a brand new virus. So I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Joint Resolution 1007? Seeing none, all those in favor of passage of House Joint Resolution 1007 say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Joint Resolution 1007 is passed. Co-sponsors. Well, unless we want to. Mr. Minority Leader Neville. Co-sponsors, please open the machine.
What's going on here? Something's missing. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for consideration of Senate Joint Resolution 17.
Seeing no objection, we'll proceed out of order for consideration of Senate Joint Resolution 17. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 17.
Senate SJR 2017 by Senator Fenberg, also Representative Garnett, concerning changes to the joint rules of the Senate and House of Representatives regarding equal access to legislative proceedings.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This is just a resolution that came over from the Senate where we're adjusting ADA requirements and just making sure that there's equal access to the legislative proceedings. It's been sitting on the calendar for almost a week, so I thought let's just move it. So I move Senate Joint Resolution 17 and ask for an aye vote.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Joint Resolution 17. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Senate Joint Resolution 17 is adopted. Do you want to add the morning roll call?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to add the morning roll call as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 17.
Seeing no objection, the morning roll call will be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 17. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I just want to make a quick announcement about what we have left today. We are going to go through the Senate amendments to House bills calendar. I assume there is going to be a few more that come over from the Senate, including House Bill 1359, because the Senate has made a few amendments to that bill. And so what we'll do is we'll go through what we have on our calendar now. We may have to be in a brief recess while they send over their third reading calendar, and then we will wait. If we get through all of that, we will wait until they're done debating the House joint resolutions we just sent to them in case there are amendments that we have to consider. So that's sort of how the rest of the day will go. So with that.
So we're going, are you moving to proceed out of order?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for consideration of Senate amendments to House bills.
Seeing no objection, We'll proceed out of order for consideration of Senate amendments to House bills. Mr. Gregorio, please read House Bill 1229.
House Bill 1229 by Representative Buentello, also Senator Cook and Bridges, concerning authorizing the Peace Officers Standards and Training Board to establish a scholarship program for law enforcement agencies with limited resources to assist the agencies with the payment of tuition costs for peace officer candidates to attend an improved basic law enforcement training academy.
Representative Buentello.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to reject the Senate amendments and appoint a conference committee.
Oh, okay. All right, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Short version is the Senate, I don't know if they mixed up their juice boxes or just forgot their naps that morning. My point is they stripped out the requirement that you actually take a job in a rural police force after they've paid for your schooling. So I really do think they missed their nap that morning. And I move that we go to a conference committee and fight them on this.
The question before us is to reject Senate amendments to House Bill 1229 and form a conference committee. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please vote. Alec. Please close the machine. With 59 aye votes, 0 no votes, and 6 excused, the motion to reject Senate amendments and form a conference committee is passed. The conferees are Representative Buentello, Representative Pelton, and Representative Roberts. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of House Bill 1133.
House Bill 1133 by Representative Kraft-Tharp and McKean, also Senator Tate, concerning land use entitlement affecting real property that has been disconnected from the municipality.
Representative Kraft-Tharp.
Thank you. So I move that we concur with the Senate and House Bill 1133.
Representative
amendments.
McKean.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. This is an issue of timing. And as we all deride our Senate compatriots over there, they just have some good ideas, usually encouraged by other people who know more than they do. And so this idea was incorporated into our wonderful bill. I urge an aye vote.
Well, let's change our mind.
Yeah, let's.
Okay.
Could we do a conference committee today?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Okay, are you guys done?
Oh, here.
Oh, that's right, elbows.
All right. The question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1229. Is there any further discussion? You guys can leave because you're going to have to go vote. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please vote. What are we going to do? Please close the machine. With 59 aye votes, 0 no votes, and 6 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1188 is adopted. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1133 as amended.
The question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1133 as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please open the machine and members please vote. Please close the machine. With what just happened? Oh, it got cleared. Did I announce it? Was it 59? With 59 aye votes, 1 no vote, 0 no votes, and 6 excused, House Bill 1133 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. So, did you talk to Bree? No. Could you tell her that see if she's okay? Okay. I just, and it's nothing against you. I just think someone wants something. Sure. And I heard it. Yeah. Okay. Please close the machine. The next order of business is consideration of adherence. Mr. Gregorio, please read Senate Bill 78.
Senate Bill 78 by Senator Donovan, also Representative Garnett, concerning the ability of a person to bring a pet dog onto the premises of a restaurant.
Ruff. Majority Leader Garnett.
Madam Speaker, this pains me. I just want to, before I make the motion, I just want everyone to remember how we got here, okay? There was an amendment to add the names of everyone's dogs onto Senate Bill 78. I knew it was going to be a challenge because this was a Senate bill and they actually tried to make that amendment in the Senate, but it got rejected. But I knew that the House could stand up and we could fight strong. And we added the amendment. Then we wanted to add more dogs, so we moved it from thirds back to seconds, and we added more dogs, and then we passed it on thirds. Well, the Senate rejected that amendment to Senate Bill 78, and if we had more time, I would fight harder, but we are where we are, so I move to recede. I move the House recede from its position.
I am pretty sure, Majority Leader Garnett, this is the first time this has happened at the legislature that the House has receded.
This is a day of firsts, Madam Speaker.
This is definitely a day of firsts. All right, the question before us is the motion to recede from House amendments to Senate Bill 78. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members, please vote. All right, before we close the machine, if we don't pass this, then the bill dies. Is that right? So, it's going to be close.
What was that machine?
Please. Oh. Oh my God. The suspense is killing me. Please close the machine. With 39 aye votes, 20 no votes, and 6 excused, the motion to recede from House amendments to Senate Bill 78 is adopted. Okay, then we're done with that. I'm going to read the conferees on no, he just said we don't. So we need to repass it. Okay, let's do it anyway. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the repassage of Senate Bill 78 as amended.
Yeah, it is.
As it was passed by the Senate. Oh, that's a way worse motion. I move for the passage of House Bill 78 as passed by the Senate.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 78 as passed by the Senate. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Benavidez, please close the machine. With 49 aye votes, 10 no votes, and 6 excused, Senate Bill 78 is passed as passed by the Senate. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Representative Gray.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask that my name be removed as a co-sponsor.
Representative Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also ask that my name be removed as a co-sponsor. I had some very important pets listed on that. Thank you.
Representative Snyder.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also ask that my name be removed as a co-sponsor.
Oh my gosh, Representative Melton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask that my name be removed as a co-sponsor of this bill.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask that my name be added as a co-sponsor.
We're going to let the clerks catch up. There's just a lot going on. Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm glad that I was not a co-sponsor.
All right, are we done with that bill? I'm going to announce the conferees on House Bill 1029. This is Representative Pelton's bill, elected county officer, lower salary. So you guys are going to conference committee, and the conferees are Representative Pelton, Representative Buenteo, and Representative Melton. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just an update, members. The Senate is sending over everything. It's in enrolling. It will be about 20 minutes before we have it to do the rest of these Senate amendments to House bills.
Then the House will be in a brief recess. The House will come back to order. Mr. Gregorio, please read reports from delayed bill committee. What'd you say? Read reports of committees of reference.
The Committee on Public Health Care and Human Services, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: House Bill 1297 be amended as follows and be so amended be referred to the committee of whole with favorable recommendation.
Message from the Senate.
Madam Speaker, the Senate has passed
Message
on
from the
third-
Senate will be printed in the journal. Any other reports? The House will stand, or Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in a brief recess before we get started.
So, do you want to tell them what we're...
We're going to do Senate amendments to House bills. I just want to make sure that people have a few minutes to get back in their chairs. You can overrule if the Speaker doesn't want me to move us into recess, that's fine too. Madam Speaker, it appears that people are ready to go, so I don't think we need to go into a recess.
And they're fine with it. Okay. The House will come back to order. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of House Bill 1301.
House Bill 1301 by Representative McLaughlin, also Senator Sonnenberg, concerning electronic attendance in meetings of school district boards of education.
Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House concur with Senate amendment.
Please proceed.
Okay, I want you all to listen very carefully to what happened in the Senate. Senator Sonnenberg amended this with a safety clause. It's true, and I concur. So this bill is it was kind of looking to the future here. It helps the school boards vote electronically and be part of the quorum. And being in the time that we are right now, we all thought it was really important that they could do this at the next school board meeting, is to vote electronically and be part of the quorum. So it just happened to be that this was a bill that was ahead of its time, and the time has come.
So you move to concur with Senate amendments?
Yes, I do.
The question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1301. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please vote. Benavidez, Tipper, and Landgraf. Please close the machine. With 53 aye votes, 7 no votes, and 6 excused, House Bill 1301 is, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1301 is adopted. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1301 as amended.
The question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1301 as amended. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine. Members, please vote. So, Alec, we got to take a break. I can't. Please close the machine. With 49 aye votes, 10 no votes, and 6 excused, House Bill 1301 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in a brief recess.
The House will be in a brief recess.
Okay, the House will come back to order. Just so everyone knows, there will be a list up here of the order of the consideration of Senate amendments to House bills. Maybe Representative Melton, if you could go around with the list and let sponsors know that they're coming up. And I think Representative Holtorf, you will be next. So, Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of House Bill 1178.
House Bill 1178 by Representative Holtorf, also Senator Sonnenberg, concerning increasing the speed limit on rural state highways where it is safe to do so, and in connection therewith, directing the Department of Transportation to identify these highways.
Representative Holtorf.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I move to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1178.
Thank you, Representative Holtorf. Tell us a little bit about the amendments. Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem. It is my belief, in retaliation to House amendments to Senate Bill 20-078, the Senate has put some guardrails on House Bill 1178 by adding safety of vulnerable road users in the study. The safety of vulnerable road users includes many traditional considerations such as pedestrians, emergency service vehicles, and peace officer right-of-way considerations. But then they also include persons riding or leading an animal, skateboards, roller skates, scooters, animal-drawn wheeled vehicles, sleds, wheelchairs, baby strollers, and non-motorized pull carts such as your little red wagon.
Thank you.
And they did not include the pogo stick.
Is there any further discussion on the motion to concur with Senate amendments? Seeing none. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Gray, Representative A. Valdez. I might be able to do my first fine. Two fines. When it rains, it pours. When it rains, it pours. Oh, Representative Coleman, you always ruin it. Representative Valdez. Representative Valdez, that will be $11. We'll settle this later. Just settle it later, right? And Representative Gray is And Representative Gray, that is $13.46. $13.46. Mr. Gregorio, please close the machine. Madam Acting Majority Leader Pro Tem.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1178 as amended.
You have heard the motion. Mr. Gregorio, please. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please open up the machine and members proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 50 6 aye votes and 1 no vote. House Bill 1178 is repassed. Co-sponsors.
Go faster.
Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title to House Bill 1158.
House Bill 1158 by Representatives Tipper and Harrod, also Senators Winter and Fenberg, concerning insurance coverage for infertility and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Harrod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Majority Leader Pro Tem. Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I move House Bill 1158. I move that the House concur with an amendment.
That is a proper motion. Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. So the Senate added a couple of things. One, they created a religious exemption for businesses that have a bona fide religious belief. 2, they reduced the egg retrievals from 4 down to 3. And then a safety clause was added to basically allow DOI to start implementation. And the critical component to that is the other component they added is DOI is going to ask the federal government if there are potential defrail costs. And if so, it would basically delay implementation of the bill. So it's a safety mechanism. And we would ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on concurring to Senate amendments to House Bill 1158? Seeing none, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Landgraf, please close the machine. With 49 aye votes and 8 no votes, with 8 excused, concurrence with Senate amendments to House Bill 1158 is adopted. Do I gavel that? Madam Majority Leader Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1158 as amended.
You have heard the motion for the repassage of House Bill 1158. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption or the repassage of House Bill 1158. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 40 aye votes, 17 no votes, and 8 excused, House Bill 1158 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title to House Bill 1128.
House Bill 1128 by Representatives Buenteo and Wilson, also Senators Zenzinger and Priola, concerning education requirements for educators to increase awareness of special education issues.
Representative Buenteo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Temp. I move that the House concur with Senate amendments on 1128.
Is there any further discussion on concurring to Senate amendments to House Bill 1128? Does somebody want to tell us what those amendments are? Representative Buenteo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Temp. In plain English, the amendment clarifies that behavioral health is in fact part of special education and that those hours, professional development hours specific to teachers in the area of behavioral health will count towards special education training.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Colleagues, we already knew that here in the House. The Senate just had to clarify it for their own use, so I would recommend an aye vote.
Representative Buenteo.
We have to remember to use small words with the Senate. Differentiate instruction, which you'd learn about in this bill.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is concurring to Senate amendments to House Bill 1128. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Please close the machine. With 52 aye votes, 4 no votes, and 9 excused, why am I always screwing up this motion? We have concurred with Senate amendments to House bills. Madam Majority Leader Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1128 as amended.
You have heard the motion. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1128 as amended. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Please close the machine. 46 aye votes, 10 no votes, and 9 excused. House Bill 1128 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Wow. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of the House Bill 1275.
House Bill 1275 by Representative Buenteo, also Senators Heisey and Lee, concerning providing in-state tuition status at a community college for military families regardless of whether Colorado domicile status is satisfied.
Representative Buenteo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Temp. I once again move that the House concur with the Senate amendments to 1275. I'm aware.
That is a proper motion. You want to tell us about the amendments? Representative
Yes.
Buenteo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Temp. Again, small words from the Senate. They simply added the word veteran because apparently that wasn't clear enough to them in the bill. So, nothing terrible.
Is there any further discussion on the motion to concur to Senate amendments to House Bill 1275? Seeing none, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members proceed to vote.
Escara.
Please close the machine. With 55 aye votes, 1 no vote, and 9 excused, the motion to concur is passed. Madam Majority Leader Pro Tem.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem. Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I move the repassage of House Bill 1275 as amended.
Is there any further discussion on the repassage of House Bill 1275? Seeing none, Mr. Gregorio, please open up the machine and members proceed to vote. Okay.
Please close the machine. With 55 aye votes, 1 no vote, and 9 excused, House Bill 1275 is adopted. It's repassed as amended. I'm sorry. Yes. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of House Bill 1359.
House Bill 1359 by Representatives Garnett and Neville, also Senator Fenberg and Holbert, concerning modifications to party candidate designation requirements to accommodate public health concerns.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem Chair. I move that the House concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1359.
Please tell us why. Minority Leader Neville. I'm sorry, Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Members, again, 1359 was the bill about ballot access. I think the more I think about this bill, the more important I think it is to protecting some of the most at-risk people in our community and to making sure that our democracy can continue. The amendments that they made were some technical amendments clarifying when the rules may be waived around election notices. They changed the issue on proxies, which was an issue that came up, to only being allowed on, when there's in-person voting. So there's a question of if people are voting remotely, they shouldn't be able to carry proxies. There's a change to the language that allowed for quorum at assemblies to be waived, to allowing the state party to make rules reducing or waiving the quorum rule. So it just sort of made that a little bit more clear. And then there was a change to extending the 14 days for people who are petitioning onto the ballot, to extending turning in your petitions by 3 days to take into account for if a county clerk's office would have closed. And I've had many conversations with people on our side who are petitioning onto the ballot, and they actually, I talked to 3 people last night for a very long time. 2 of them actually agreed with this change, 1 disagreed. But around the concerns with adding 14 days, where you're encouraging people to go and have face-to-face contact, you are continuing to push people in to some, to go against some of the CDC and CDPHE guidelines that we're trying to follow. So I would urge an aye vote on concurrence.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. And again, I would also urge an aye vote. This has become a really incredibly important issue. I mean, I think when we brought this up in the House, we literally went from the passage of this bill thinking there might be an issue to, I think, about 20 minutes later, we were facing the 250 less gatherings being banned. So very important bill. The Senate amendments helped us kind of clean up some language overall. Bill moved fast and quick, but it's a great example of what we can do when we work in a bipartisan way.
Any further discussion? The question before us is concurrence to Senate amendments on House Bill 1359. Seeing all those, used to being the chair. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 55 aye votes, 1 no vote, and 9 excused, House Bill 1350, the motion to concur is adopted. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1359 as amended.
Motion is for the repassage of House Bill 1359 as amended. Is there discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 55 aye votes, 1 no vote, and 9 excused, House Bill 1359 is repassed as amended. Mr. Gregorio, please read the sorry. Oh, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of House Bill 1136.
House Bill 1136 by Representative Snyder, also Senators Hansen and Tate, concerning the regulation of investments made by domestic insurance companies.
Representative Snyder.
I'm going to concur with these Senate amendments.
Do you move that we concur with Senate amendments?
And I move that we concur with these Senate amendments.
That's a good motion. Please tell us why.
So, short story, Senator Tate comes into Business Affairs and Labor Committee, asked to be put on the bill, and then he put 2 amendments on the bill on 3rd readings in the Senate today. So, luckily, they're actually good amendments. One deals with the appraisal of real estate for investments by insurance companies, and the other just clarifies what type of mutual funds that we're allowing them to invest in. So, they were actually improvements.
Is there any further discussion on the motion to concur? Seeing none, the question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1136. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representatives Bockenfeld and Catlin. Please close the machine. With 44 aye votes, 10 no votes, and 10 excused, the motion to, 45 aye votes, 10 no votes, and 10 excused, the motion to concur is passed. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1136 as amended.
Motion before us is the repassage of House Bill 1136 as amended. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1136 as amended. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 40 aye votes, 15 no votes, and 10 excused, the repassage of House Bill 1136 as amended is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem and members. We're going to go into a brief recess because that's the work that we have before us, and the Senate is still in debate. And so please remain patient, order food, please order meat, food too. And so with that, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I ask that the House stand in a brief recess.
The House will stand in a brief recess.
The House will come back to order. Members, just a brief update. We're waiting for the Senate to we're waiting for them to finish debating some things over in the Senate. So we thought we would recess to a particular time so you're not just waiting around. So it's 12:15 right now, and Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until 1:15.
Seeing no objection, the House will reconvene at 1:15. The House will come back to order. All right, the Senate surprised us and actually finished their business in a quicker way than we guessed. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the balance of the calendar be laid over until March 30th.
Representative Champion, you've been here about 2 weeks. How can you be clapping? It's like it's been an exhausting couple of weeks, huh? Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over till Monday, March 30th. Majority Leader Garnett.
Anyone want to make announcements or introductions?
Representative Escar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Those of you who are interested, the Joint Budget Committee will be meeting on Monday at 1:30 in Alice BA to hear the March forecast. You are more than welcome to join us that day. If you wish to do it, you can do it in person or you can listen online. It will be broadcast. I would recommend the broadcast, but I just want to make sure to extend the invitation that it is going to be an open meeting, LSBA 1:30 on Monday for the March forecast, but it will also be live online as well.
Any other announcements or introductions? Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in adjournment until Monday, March 30th at 10 a.m.
Seeing no objection, the House will be in adjournment till Monday, March 20th at what time? March 30th at 10 a.m.